And welcome to this Dental Guys special coverage of the Star of the North Dental Meeting right here in Minnesota. We are here as we've continued through this day. Wes, I've been super impressed by the turnout.
Yeah.
I've been super impressed by all the exhibitors that are here.
Yep.
And we've had some really great discussions, some great interviews.
We've been going around, checking out some of the exhibitors, and we're seeing a lot of buzz. There's a lot of people walking by right now, and they're out checking out booths out. I mean, it's crazy busy, and I love it. Collaboration, people getting back to in-person meetings.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Well, and two, we're reaching the magical time called happy hour.
That's right.
Down here in the exhibit hall, right? And so we know that we're also going to see people coming down, right? Because there might be, a couple free drinks happening. So
that's right.
That doesn't hurt. So we're excited. I mean, there's a lot of buzz, like I say, and how long it's been since we've been able to be in these meetings and enjoy that feeling. It's just nothing quite like it.
John, I'm excited about this interview coming up. We have a special person that's come on to talk to us about some of the most important providers in our practice today, the dental hygienist. And I married a dental hygienist, right? Been married to her for 21 years. She's here with us today, helping with social media and things like that. And so I'm excited to bring in Debbie Seidel Bittke. She's been in dental hygiene for over 30 years and is actually a coach for over 20 years to help really raise the level of our providers in our practices. You know, John, we talk to our hygienists daily. You and I are intimately involved. We believe in our hygienists because they are on the front line of one of the three diseases we treat, which is periodontal disease.
Yep.
And we know that back in the year 2000, the Surgeon General came out with the first report on oral health and how there's so many things that are impacted by oral health. Yep. And one of those primary things is we know that gum disease is linked to heart disease, preterm low birth weight babies. It's linked to all of the things. And there's some new research out that's came out in the last, say, 5 years or more that show that there's dementia, right, links, Alzheimer's, those type of things. So I'm excited to bring in an expert and talk about some of these key things about our hygiene providers, John.
So welcome to the show, Debbie.
Well, thanks, guys.
We're glad to have you. Glad to have you. You've already been lecturing. You've already been talking to some of your colleagues so far today, and tell us a little bit about, for listeners who don't know you, tell us who you are, what you do, where you're from, a little bit about your background, and some of the things that you're going to be talking about at the meeting.
Okay, well, I have been a dental hygienist for over 30 years. I've been to dentistry since I was a teenager. I had a dream when I was 12 years old to be a dental hygienist, and I've worked as a professor at the University of Southern California as well as a coach and clinician.
Okay, awesome. And so I saw some of the topics, obviously, when we're looking through the program way early on. We were like, well, we really want to have this person on because we saw the topics, and I think that as we're talking today, we want to take some of the lectures that you've been giving. Kind of what the podcast is all about is trying to take, a lot of information and trying to get it into bite-sized pieces that people can take home and they can, implement into their practice. So let's maybe start from the perio angle. You had a great topic, more than a bloody prophy, which is one of those, we see those types of topics like, oh man, I want to know more about that. So let's talk about where we are with periodontal disease. Wes kind of mentioned where we are in terms of the links with different things. Why is periodontal disease more important than ever today? And what are some of the things that you're telling hygienists to be thinking about differently now?
So where we are today is that we know that gum disease, it contributes to other diseases. And you mentioned dementia is a really big one. We just had a large research project that was completed over 30 years in October of 2021. And it one of the boxes to check off is gum health. Just very interesting. And I asked the people in the course today about the bloody prophy if they would help come alongside me to conquer this disease process. I think our message, if I say nothing more about the course, the message is, and I'm so excited to be here because I'm really on a mission to share this message that we're not just treating a tooth, that we're not cleaning teeth, that we're actually helping our patients to live a longer, healthier life. That was the overarching message for today.
Yeah, and inflammation, I guess, is really the key, and that's one of the words that we hear, brought up so much in overall health today is inflammation.
Yeah, right.
And there's lots of areas where that's not clear to see, but in periodontal disease, it's clear to see that we have inflammation that's linked, and we know that that's linked to other diseases.
Yeah.
So I guess, with the new AAP classifications, right, that they're now a few years old, talk about how your dentists and hygienists can work together, and what does that kind of look like in, say, the offices that you're working with, as far as, how are dentists and hygienists working together to come to the correct diagnosis and treatment, in terms of just how does that discussion look with the patient?
So it's the hygienist. We talked about the hygienist and some of the words that they're saying with the patient, and there's this well-known fact in dentistry, especially if you ask any of your sales reps, there's a secret of 7. And there are 5 opportunities to get patients to understand what's going on in their mouth. And one of those is the hygienist talking with the patient about what's going on in the mouth, what they see, and showing the patient what they see, and breaking it into bite-sized pieces, like you said, saying the word inflammation, infection, that we're going to put a halt to the disease with gum treatment, not periodontal therapy. Break it down. And then the doctor comes in and the hygienist tells the doctor what they've been talking about. Like, we're here, there's a cocktail party going on in back of us, I think. And if we go over to talk to those people, hopefully they'll bring us into the loop of their conversation if we stand next to them while we get a drink. Same thing when the doctor comes in to do the exam. The hygienist is bringing doctor into the loop about what they've been talking about. So now they've got another opportunity to talk to that patient using those same words. And then the hygienist is not saying, my husband went to the hygienist and she said, well, would you like to schedule your next appointment? He said, no, I don't want to come back. Stop asking me about coming back. He goes, you're supposed to direct me into why I need to come back.
Yeah.
Because he hears me talking about this all the time. So I'm going to say to you, Wes, everything looks super great today. I mean, you're taking really good care of your teeth. However, let's keep you on the right track. So I know you like Wednesdays at 2 p.m. In 6 months from now, I've got November 26th at 2 p.m. How does that sound? Can you make it? Good. Now, can you get out your phone and put it down there with the reminder? Great. We're going to send you a text message. Don't worry. Now I'm going to take you, I'm going to walk you to the front office. I'm going to hand you off, but I'm going to say, guess what, Sue? I just scheduled Wes' appointment. Today we did blah, 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 and everything looks healthy. So I scheduled him for November 26th at 2 p.m. Great. Now, it's always this. This is, everybody needs to be a piece of the puzzle of getting patients to own their disease. We also talked about it was a really key factor. There was some confusion on what to do when somebody does get a diagnosis for periodontal disease. Do they start scaling a quadrant? And really, I suggest no. We all came to the conclusion, and everybody, I think there was a unanimous vote, that we all want to take our time to help patients understand what's happening in their mouth and understand the value of reducing the inflammation and the burden of the inflammatory cells.
Yep.
And the patient, like I said, we're delivering some new information to them, a lot of information, and let them digest that. It's not about cleaning their teeth.
Yeah.
This is our opportunity to educate them, and there are words. I explained to them some secret tips, which did have to come to one of my courses. We don't have time now, but how do we get patients to want what they need? And there's something that I gave them a tip in the very beginning, and it has to do with explaining to the patient what we're going to be doing, and then asking them when we're doing our gum examination, get that word perio out of the way, gum examination. We're using a ruler, and we want them to listen for the numbers. We tell them what the numbers mean, and we ask them to listen. What is the highest number and what is the lowest number that you heard me call out? That right there is the first way. It's super easy to get people to be like, oh my gosh, that doesn't sound good. Oh no. Right away they're like freaking out. But you've told them also, now if you hear a 5 or a 6, a lot of bleeding, don't worry, we're going to put a plan together. But I want you to know what you're going to hear.
Yeah,
Sure.
what you're saying here is learning how to teach or teaching people how to have conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Wordcraft, right? I mean, we all go to school to be technicians, both hygienist and dentist. And repetition teaches us how to scale a teeth. You scale this tooth this way 100 times, you're going to know how to scale this tooth this way. And you're going to know how to get the tartar off, right? The question, though, is creating awareness to the patient and using Wordcraft. And I wonder today, in today's workforce, John, where we're used to communicating, right, with our phones, we're used to nonverbal communication, right?
Yep.
And you're coaching people to have these conversations with patients so that they understand that they have a problem and
Yep.
it's their problem, right? How are you doing that, and do you see that this workforce is different? How do you see them different than years ago?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm finding, I actually had a situation recently. I've been really pondering this a lot because the young lady said, I just told you there's 7 secrets.
Right.
And then there's a 5-step process. And I said, we were talking about handling calls, phone calls, because patients, we got them to call back for their hygiene appointment. And we were talking about what happens when the patient calls back. And I said, well, let's write down these 4 steps. And she said, no, I'm not. She actually said, I refuse.
Oh.
And this is what I'm dealing with.
Oh, man.
So I've actually taken it to be, we're helping patients live a longer, healthier life. Are you working because you have to pay bills? And if you say yes, that's the only reason why you're here. What if you could help that person, police officer, teacher, lawyer, doctor?
Yes.
What if you could have them enjoy life better?
Mm-hmm.
What if you knew that not only were they healthier, but they enjoyed life more with their 2.5 kids? I mean,
Yep.
will that help that person?
Yeah.
I'm dealing with people who are straight out saying, I'm not going to do it. And the other thing is, if there are doctors watching this and they all have team members who are not going to do what they need to do. They literally there, millions, to punch a time clock. Nobody wants to go back to work, and if they are, they're punching a time clock. But it's the doctor. And we talked about this today's course. I hope it's okay that am I rambling here? I don't mean to go.
This is what we want to hear your opinion
Here,
on.
the thing is, it's this millennial generation. I don't know if it's millennial. What's the generation now that's 20 years of age?
Xenials, I think.
Xenials or
Yeah,
something.
like that.
I mean, we're dealing with this situation throughout the world. I mean, you go to restaurants, same thing. Nobody wants to work. And, I was talking about, they're complaining. They're like, no, my doctor doesn't pay me enough. I'm running on a treadmill. They're catty. They're this. Everything's about everybody else and how terrible they are. And I took everybody back to that story, The Wizard of the Oz.
Mm-hmm.
There are, there's Kansas and there's Oz. And what were two differences between those two?
Well, color versus black and white, right?
Oh, you're on the genius level there.
I mean,
huh?
that's, I remember that. I remember that movie.
Yeah. And these people are still stuck in the black and white. And I actually got the people in the course to close their eyes, and they had to open them back up because now we were in Technicolor. And they got to be responsible for their future. It's not the doctor's fault that he's a jerk. It's not that their team is catty. It's not that you're running on a treadmill. You get to decide where you want to be and what you want to do. And if you don't like being in clinical dentistry, I listed out 7 other ways you can still work in dentistry but not be there running on your treadmill, not getting paid what you want from your doctor, not being with these catty women. You got to look at the Technicolor world.
Well, I think that's an interesting thought process because at the same time, we're hearing that people are kind of in this me-centered world in a way. We also have a lack of people to hire And so it's interesting from the doctor's side, trying to figure that out. And so then you even have seen it, and this is of course very controversial, but you even have states that are now advocating that maybe dental assistants should step in to fill the void.
Plug my ears.
Right.
Plug my ears.
So so this is one of those things where how do we, in a way that's ethical, responsible, and best for our patients, really address this problem?
I love what you said, and it's just, you didn't even know that I was going to talk about this Technicolor world, but you know, dentists who are living in the black and white are like, there are no hygienists. I don't even, just throwing their hands up. There is nobody. You got to step outside of I always was saying this when the offices were closed down. I was doing webinars 5 hours a day, 5 days a week to help dentists. And I'm like, we got to step out of the box. We got to think differently. And you got to think differently. Stop living in the black and white. Start understanding the world is beautiful. I'm sorry to say, but I am an optimist, and you got to look at it in Technicolor. There are people to do hygiene work. Now, they are not the dental assistants. We have new grads who are dentists with, guess what? She's got $750,000 in bills for dental school and the prerequisites for dental school. $750,000. Now, if the doctor has a positive attitude, okay, I'm going to smile at you. Oh, you're not smiling back.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm an optimist too, so I'm with you on this. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think happens when you get when you're in Technicolor? You're positive, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And what happens when you have positive energy?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a smile, okay?
Yeah. You bring it comes back.
Yeah,
Usually it comes back.
Okay, so if the doctor starts saying, I'm going to find a hygienist, and now we've got these hungry dentists who just graduated with $750,000, and they've got me working with the new associate dentist who's going to see those hygiene patients. What do you think happens next? Because positive energy equals what?
Well,
positive and a positive. What does that equal?
Usually more positive.
Hello.
Right? Yeah.
So guess what happens? You just put positive energy out there because you got this dentist hired a month ago, and she's seeing some hygiene patients. She's meeting these other patients coming in for restorative. And by the way, she was meeting the hygiene patients for the first time. They absolutely loved her. She's making diagnosis for restorative. So doctor, you didn't have to come do the exam because your associate's doing it. And she's able to see those other patients who were overdue since COVID, and she's putting them into scaling, replanning. And you know what else happened? That hygienist she met 4 years ago, she moved back to Tennessee, and she's looking for a job. Isn't that interesting how that works out? Stay in the dark with black and white. Where do you think you go? Into the dungeon. But have the Technicolor mindset. Positive. That's a positive. And what do you think comes back? Smacks you in the face with something great.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I love that. That's the way we've tried to always operate our practices in terms of saying, if you do the right thing, usually things end up working out for the best, and you have good people.
Years ago, I read a book called The Energy Bus, and if you haven't read that book, I encourage you to read The Energy Bus, because it's an amazing book about what brings energy, the positive energy that we need on a day-to-day basis. And if you don't want to get on my bus, then that's okay.
That's right.
Because I'm looking for people to bring energy to my team and upbeat atmosphere, and I'm not interested in somebody that has this negative Nancy attitude, as my mom would say. We're going to move forward here and, have a positive attitude, and we're going to enjoy what we do. And I'm going to hire people that enjoy what they do. That's the kind of offices that you and I foster. Let me ask you a question, kind of spin this up for the last 10 minutes of our interview, is that are we as hygienists, as we, develop a book of business, right? For instance, my wife's been practicing in some way in and out of hygiene for 20 years. Now she has a book of business, and I have another hygienist that's been in my practice for 15 years, and now she has a book of business of hygiene patients. And what happens to those hygienists is that they, as they have matured in hygiene with their patients, they sometimes become stagnant in a sense of that they're not maybe seeing or doing as much 4,000 codes as they should be. And because they feel, right, and they have a harder time having a tougher conversation.
I understand.
Right? And two, you want to feel, and this is a second follow-up question. I want my hygienists that are in their late 30s, early 40s that have been doing it for a long time to feel like that they have a sense of worth in the practice. I don't want them to become stagnant. I want them to continue to be dynamic. So one, how do we not lose sight and really feel for our patients and then cater and still do the deep scaling but not charge them for it? How do we, and then, right?
Oh, boy.
And then two, how do we stay relevant to the practice as we bring younger people in and they're mentoring those younger people, helping them develop their book of business. You're seeing a lot of them go. How do we keep them engaged?
Well, first of all, it goes back to the course that we are all working. We need to work together as a team to help conquer the disease. And why should dentistry be different? If you go to your doctor and they want to do a PSA. I wanted my husband to have a PSA. Our insurance didn't cover it. Do you think the doctor just never told him about the PSA because, your insurance might not cover it? Why would we not give somebody the option for something that could help them live a longer, healthier life? You know, you got to have that mentality. And I think we can lose sight of that when our patients become our friends. After 20 years, it becomes a social hour. So we do have to put our professional hat on. One thing that's worked really well is a base salary. So just I'll arbitrarily say $400 a day, or I had a doctor pay 26% of the production. And so $400 a day or 26% of the production. It sounds pretty scary to some, but I'm going to guarantee you $400. Now, if you are treating the patients, by the way, I showed a statistic today. You know how many adults 30 years and above have some level of gum disease? It's 42.7% of Americans. So now you know, most of my clients, they're at 12%, or they slowly get up to 40%, but I mean, it's closer to 43% now. What if you were at 30% and you were at, you're the hygienist, 12% is where you started. Now I show you how to talk to them and get them to want what they need, and they want to not have that inflammation and bleeding gums. Now you're at 30%. So now you're producing at least $2,000 a day.
So what you're saying is that money motivates.
Most people.
Right? Most people, right?
Yeah, or it should be, I think a better way to put it, just for me, is that it should come along with doing the right thing.
Correct.
Because when you do the right thing, if 42% of people have perio, then that means you're going to do higher production procedures.
Right, and you're going to make more money if you're incentivized.
It should follow, right?
And I'm all about that. I think that if we're looking at it from a standpoint of like our hygienist, and you and I do this, we're trying to get them above 30%.
Right.
You know, as far as 4,000 codes.
Right.
And so part of that is Wordcraft. Part of that is make sure you put on your professional hat, have tough conversations with your patients, create awareness, use the Wordcraft that you're teaching people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I think that that's where, you know, no matter how mature a hygienist is, how long they've been doing it, you know, it's good to have a reward based on what you do, you know, because you still have to be able to say, hey, all this knowledge that you have and this experience, it should translate into more case acceptance, right? It should translate into more procedural acceptance, because you should know how to talk to people. And if you maybe aren't seeing that, then maybe, as you're saying, you need some help. You need to talk to somebody and say, hey, you know, what are the words I should be using? How do I talk to the patient? How can I be more efficient with my time, for instance? And I think that that's where, you know, or like you say, if you're not happy, then you know, maybe this isn't for you. You know, that's okay.
Well, and so like the follow-up question, I guess, is as we have, you know, hygienists that are moving into, you know, the last half of their career, if they stay chairside, right? You know, they want to be relevant, right? Relevant to the team. They want to feel right? Tell us how that this person stays engaged, and how do they engage the rest of the team, these younger hygienists?
I was studying about change, and did you know that Aristotle started studying change centuries ago? And a circle is always a circle. But if we are open to change, we become a new person. If we just want to be the circle or the square, then we remain stagnant. And remaining stagnant is stiff. So how can you continue your passion and excitement?
Yeah.
I hope that today, the course that I gave, I hope it really ignited a fire under them. I tried to work really hard to make a change. I want to make a difference, and how much does a professional dental hygienist want to make a difference and leave a legacy of how many lives they've changed?
Yeah.
How many lives do you think you've changed as a dentist?
Yeah, and that's really in the end, and I think we're both kind of at the point in our career where we've been around long, and it starts to feel funny because just a couple of years ago we were brand new, right? We're not that old-ish, but we're starting to get to a point where you do start to see, people that you have treated for 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it is, and you start to think about, well, what is in the end what's going to matter, right? When I look back on my career, what's going to matter? And it's much less about the money you've made. It's much less about the building you build. It's much more about the relationships and the lives, like you say, and being able to come back and say, well, what did you do for people? Much less about anything else.
People have dreams, right? And if you can tap into your team members' dreams and help make those a reality, or your patients' dreams and help make those a reality, that's amazing stuff, and that lives on for forever.
I want to switch gears just as we kind of close out, because you mentioned something before the show about products. And we've been talking a lot about philosophy and treatment, which is all awesome. But you mentioned, because I didn't want to forget it, because we're kind of nerdy, and when you say something, you say, I have something new.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I heard that. So you mentioned that you've been involved with whitening for a long time, like with whitening products, and that there's something, the new product that you've been kind of seeing results with. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yes, I've always, since the economic decline in 2007, I've been offering whitening for life for the dentist to buy wholesale whitening syringes. And then during the pandemic, I had to scramble and reinvent myself. And one of the things I did was, there are no more impressions, no more models to pour up and patients coming back for the trays. It's actually a kit that they get. I have a whole system around it. It's on my website, and there's a training portal that I have, and it's in the training vault there. But it's a kit with a red and blue light and whitening pens. So they paint the pen on, and then they put in this mouthpiece. The blue light, actually, I've learned, it works as like an antiseptic, it's antibacterial, and the red light heals, so it heals inflammation. We're also healing the bad bacteria. We're killing the bad bacteria with the blue LED light. So it's been very exciting. I thought the blue light originally was to just bamboozle us, just like Zoom whitening. Sorry about Zoom whitening, but they whitened their teeth. They paid $600, and next year their teeth were yellow again. But this is a blue and red light that they can use to keep their teeth white. They put it in for 10 minutes. In the beginning, they might wear it for 2 weeks, 10 minutes a day. But people with Crohn's disease who have mouth ulcers, mouth sores, can wear just the mouthpiece alone, and they do not have the mouth sores. Aphthous ulcers, same thing. They just wear the light, and it helps to heal that. So it's been really exciting. When all I was trying to do was help with the new technology for whitening teeth.
What's the product called?
It's called Celebrity Smiles Club.
Okay.
Celebrity White. It's on my website, dentalpracticesolutions.com. I have a pop-up there, and I talk about it.
Okay. Well, that was perfect segue, because we're just going to ask, well, where can we find out more about you? Is that the best place?
Dentalpracticesolutions.com.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Well, we will definitely check that out. And I think this has been great. I've enjoyed just kind of talking about, again, a lot of the philosophy of this, because I think that's what we need as we're figuring things out post-COVID. I think there's been a lot of soul searching, there's been a lot of stagnation.
Yeah.
We're talking about that a lot with continuing education. You know, in our lecture tomorrow, we'll be talking about dental implants with, you know, okay, you haven't, most people haven't changed their practice much in the last 2 years. They've been in like, you just, you know, hibernation mode or survival mode. So now it's time to come out and realize, like, where are we going? And I think in hygiene, obviously, again, a lot of soul searching has been going on. Is what's next? What's important? I think you've helped us to kind of get that conversation going with our hygienists.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
good.
Yeah, I think that'll be useful.
Well, I really appreciate Debbie being on today, and so thank you so much for
You're
joining us.
welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You guys, it was so great to meet you, and I hope that we talk again soon. I really enjoyed meeting you.
So if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, man, where can I find out more about, like, you know, Debbie? Well, you heard it right there, and so hit her up on her website if you're interested in coaching. As far as us, is at the Star of the North Dental meeting, there's more to come tomorrow, John, right?
A lot more to come.
Right. We're going to be lecturing in the morning for a couple of hours, and we've got several interviews lined up here to live stream. So stay tuned on our Facebook, our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe. Also hit that notification bell so you can get noted that we're going to be going live. We are the podcast too, John, right? We're going to have these post-released on our audio form. So if you didn't catch us here, right, well, maybe you can catch us on.
You may be listening to this on your lawnmower in 3 months from now.
Right, fantastic. Make sure you spread the love about the Dental Guys. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the things above, and we're excited for that. So for Debbie, for John, I'm Wes, and we are the Dental Guys.